Mr. Toomey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the witnesses for being here. A question for Dr. Maloney. Is it your view that if that unmarked cargo plane carrying pallets of stacked cash had never landed at its destination, that the Americans would nevertheless have been released at that time by the Iranians? That is just a coincidence?
I don't believe it's a coincidence. I believe, in fact, that the timing of 3 rounds of diplomacy, 3 different channels of diplomacy, one focused on the implementation of the nuclear deal, one focused on the settlement of this long-standing dispute, and one focused on the efforts to release Americans unjustly detained in Iran, was deliberately converged in order to try to expedite the set of American priorities that were attendant in all.
So if the cash had not landed, the Americans would not have been released, but we should not understand that to be a ransom payment. That's interesting. Let me ask a question about the fund from which this money, the account from which this money was released. It's my understanding that the foreign military sales account held the roughly $400 million that the Iranians had paid for some F-14s back in the 1970s. However, it's my understanding that in 2000, Congress passed the Victims of Trafficking and Violence Protection Act, and that law prevented the U.S. from paying Iran the money, I think it was $377 million at that time in the FMS account, prevented that money from going to Iran unless and until outstanding judgments were first paid. My further understanding is that President Clinton authorized the Treasury to pay out something like $380 million at the end of 2000 to settle several outstanding judgments. Now, if this is the case, then what money was left in the FMS account? Ambassador Edelman, can you shed any light on this? Because it's not clear to me that there was $400 million of Iranian money anymore, since by U.S. law it was used to settle judgments.
Senator Toomey, I can't shed any light on that. That would be someone from DSCA would have to, let you know what was in that account. I don't know. What I do know is what I've read in the Wall Street Journal article about how this all transpired.
General McCasey,
I can't shed any light on it. I don't. It's obviously the people who administer that account, who are either in the Treasury Department or the Defense Department. I'm not sure which. Defense Department, would be expert on what was there and what wasn't.
I think it'd be interesting to find out.
I should think it would be, and that's one of the questions that I think in the catalog of questions that bears exploration.
Another question that comes to mind is the JPOA, as I understand it, authorized the release of $700 million per month to Iran from various escrow accounts held by various foreign nations. Did that money have to go by cash, or was that money that was sent by wire transfer? Do we know? General McCasey?
I believe there's been money sent by wire transfer. Whether it was that money or other money, I don't know. But certainly the JPOA doesn't. I've read the JPOA, and it doesn't specify cash.
Ambassador?
Yeah, Senator Toomey, I don't know the answer to that question, and I think that really that's something that Senator Kirk adverted to at the outset, which is we don't know how much cash has actually been transferred to Iran, and it would be an interesting question to get an answer to from the administration.
And the other question that comes to mind is, if this money were transferred by wire transfer, then why was it necessary for the administration to transfer funds exclusively in cash subsequently? Does this make sense to Ambassador Edelman, to you, or?
The president has said in his press conference that there was no mechanism to get cash or get money to Iran through the regular international financial system, but we know just from stories in Politico the other day that in fact there have been wire transfers of money, and we have had settlements under the tribunal. So it doesn't appear to me that cash was the only mechanism available. It was the mechanism that was decided upon for this transaction, and that's one of the issues which I think, again, the committee is well within its rights to get, a more detailed answer from the administration.
Well, and further to that point, didn't the administration recently admit that they sent electronic fund transfers to water when they to Iran when they decided to pay Iran for
The heavy
complying
water.
with the agreement, the terms that they already were obligated to comply with without having had to be paid to comply with it? Wasn't that done by wire transfer?
That is my understanding, Senator Toomey. It's something I mentioned in my written statement.
This continues to be very mysterious, and I think the American people deserve to get some answers here. I thank you very much to the witnesses for helping out.
Mr. Menendez.